Same old items set up, dude. Shit. I just want something new, man. I'm tired of this same old shit, man. New shit to keep me occupied right now. I crave the new and exciting. But where is it? Where can I find it? I don't know. But I need to know and find out. I don't. So, like, what's the deal, man? What do I do? That's the real question, bro. Where do I go to find that shit, dude? The new shit. Where do I go, man? Where can I find it? I guess I just gotta look around, man. Hopefully it'll find its way to me. What do I do? What do you do, dude? I don't know how you do this shit, you know? It's a new app, man. New and exciting. Where'd that shit go? I don't even know where that shit is in the first place, man. Fuck. Is all that shit, dude. It's wasting time. That's what it is, man. Wasting time doing nothing, doing this fucking game. And it never changes, dude. The routine always stays the same. There needs to be there needs to be something new and exciting and all the time, dude, to just keep me occupied. I just need to have something new, man. A new obsession, a new trend, a new interest, a new phase. Running out of things, man. What do I do, man? Where do I go? Fuck. It's the same exact track, dude. Mirror mode. Fuck you. I'm getting this track over with, dude. I'm tired of this same fucking formula, dude. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Repetitive, dude. Same old over and over again. I just want something new, man. Give me something new, man. Something that I can sink my teeth into, you know what I mean? Something real new and exciting, all like. Where do I go to find that shit around here, bro? I'm tired of it, bro. Where do I find it? I really would like to know and find out, dude. Repetitive. Get me off this repetitive plane of existence, man. I just want something new and exciting. I crave psychedelics, dude. I need them. They would provide me with a new and fresh viewpoint, but why can't I get any? Fucking shit, dude. Me and Dan better find some shrooms, dude. We need some. We better find some somewhere. It's finally a portal, dude. Finally I got a portal. Ah, shit. Rocket Racer Run. Let's fucking go, dude. Yo, what is all this stuff, dude? All of a sudden he's posting so many videos. Let's see. Oh shit, actually, wait.
I've talked about a few interesting planets before, like 55 Cancri E, thought to contain a large amount of diamond, Kepler 452b, one of the most Earth-like planets we've found, and even the electromagnetic vibrations coming from planet Saturn that have been converted into sound waves for us to hear. But year after year, more and more planets are discovered within the observable universe. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about planets that could potentially support life, although they are very interesting. I'm also talking about planets that simply define our definition of possible, like an almost black, lightless planet, to one we are all familiar with, yet overlook hugely. Here are just a handful of the truly fascinating planets we have so far discovered in space, some of which in fact hold many mysteries. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
How many of these planets are inhabited?
While Earth may be known as the blue planet, there is one planet out there that puts us to shame. Gliese 1214b. It's 6 times the size of Earth, with a gravitational pull just under ours, and it's come to be known as the water world, thanks to its amazing, yet mysterious properties. Discovered in 2009 and residing 42 light-years away from our own planet, in the constellation Ophiuchus, astronomers were amazed when they realized that the planet seems to have an incredibly water-based atmosphere, much richer than our own. As you will know, this stirs many questions, since the presence of water is needed for life as we know it. But this is where Gliese 1214b's unusuality comes in. You see, the water present on the planet is unlike anything you would encounter on Earth. Due to the temperatures, water cannot exist in the form of a liquid, solid, or gas. Instead, the water world is rich in plasma, a state of matter caused by intense heat. So, although water as we know it is not present on the surface of the planet, leading many experts to agree life on its surface is unlikely, it would appear that water vapor could exist higher up in the planet's atmosphere in the form of clouds, and this could be an environment for life, as is the case with Earth. There is also some interesting discussion about this planet, as some have theorized that since it is so close to its own sun, causing the intense heat, it could have a dark side that never faces the heat blast and is in fact frozen, as opposed to its plasma-filled other half. This would mean there would be an in-between point where water is present. The fact of the matter is, we know very little about this planet, because as you can imagine, simply studying something by observation means there is often a lot of guesswork and inaccuracies, and since the universe is full of mysteries that cannot all be studied due to their distance from us, Gliese 1241b is just another planet to be added to the universe's wonders.
Damn it, so much shit's been covered up though, dude.
Planet 9. Since 2004, astronomers and scientists have been noticing some strange occurrences in our portion of the galaxy. Debris in Neptune's Kuiper Belt, which is the cloud of ice bodies that orbits past Neptune, was recorded moving in what seems like a uniformed manner, the intensity of which caused the question, what is causing these to move in such a pattern? Their orbits must be getting manipulated by another hidden planet. But as far as we know, there are only 8 planets in our solar system, since Pluto has been reclassified as a dwarf planet. Well, that is the mystery. If this is another, much larger planet causing this shift, that would mean that our solar system does contain another planet. However, there is a problem. Its existence is entirely hypothetical, as it has not been observed. But the hunt is far from over, and 10 professional groups, including NASA, are searching the area for the potential superplanet. Even recently, NASA invited the public to take up their telescopes and assist in the search for our potentially new planetary neighbour, which they hope will be discovered in 2017.
Damn.
It's estimated that, if the statistics are correct, and after all, many planets are pinpointed solely in theory before being observed, then this Planet 9 could be up to 10 times the mass of Earth. But this mysterious Planet 9 isn't just causing objects in the Kuiper Belt to be manipulated, but could also be the reason for the slight tilt the Sun is reported to have. You see, for quite a while now, we have known that almost everything in the solar system rotates around the same plane, except for the Sun, which is around 6 degrees out of alignment. But here is where things get confusing. It's thought the Sun isn't actually 6 degrees out, but in fact the entire disk of the solar system, thus making it seem that the Sun is out. We can't be certain, but with the possible presence of the larger Planet 9, this could be the reason for this imbalance. But how likely is this to be the case? Until Planet 9 is fully discovered, we are probably not going to know. But what this does mean is that since such a giant planet could exist in our solar system that has been hidden until these relatively new findings, then this strengthens the probability that life is out there, and that our solar system, let alone the universe, is just too vast for us ever to find out. The famous saying sums it up. It's like getting a cup of seawater and saying because there is no life in the water, then life does not exist in the entire ocean. TRES 2b. Dubbed the darkest planet and nightmare world, it's safe to say that TRES 2b is one of the scariest planets that we have discovered in the universe. This is because it reflects next to no light, making it blacker than coal. Being of a similar size to Jupiter, around 11 times bigger than Earth, TRES 2b caused a stir upon its discovery in 2011, as despite existing alongside a huge star, the gas-based planet somehow reflects less than 1% of the light that reaches it, causing it to currently hold the title of the darkest planet in space. But how is this possible? While there are theories to explain the planet's constant darkness, one theory states its atmosphere may be unable to create reflective clouds that make other planets, such as Jupiter, so bright. Another theory suggests there exists in the atmosphere of TRES 2b many light-absorbing chemicals such as vaporized sodium, potassium, or gaseous titanium oxide that simply eat all of the light reflected by the planet before it can be seen in further space. Whatever the reason behind TRES 2b's perpetual night, with surface temperatures that can reach a scorching 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, TRES 2b may very well be the closest thing to hell one could imagine.
God damn.
Kepler 10b. When Kepler 10b was discovered in 2011, it caused a storm in the scientific community. Firstly, the planet was very similar to our own in terms of its size, but more importantly, Kepler 10b's existence proves that other terrestrial planets exist outside of our own solar system. It's roughly 1.5 times the size of Earth, though due to the fact that it orbits so close to its star, Kepler 10, The temperature of the planet can reach 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to reduce its surface to molten lava, sadly ruling out Kepler as a potential life-bearing planet, at least for any organism we know of. However, just because Kepler-10b cannot support life itself, this has not deterred scientists and extraterrestrial believers alike to dismiss it. Its very existence proves that other planets do exist beyond our own section of the universe, which opens the door to innumerable possibilities. And Kepler-10b could share its quadrant with life-bearing planets inhabited by species unlike anything we've seen before. When it was discovered, it was described as one of the most important scientific discoveries ever made, and it certainly rewrites history books, which for the universe and all its mind-blowing discoveries is being rewritten almost daily. Planet Earth. Planet Earth is without a shadow of a doubt the most interesting and mysterious planet in the entire universe, and for one single reason. Earth is the only planet unequivocally confirmed to have life on it, and not just one or two species, but billions of different forms that have shared this amazing planet. The ground that you stand upon daily was once walked by herds of gigantic dinosaurs and our distant ancestors. Our planet is home to the most diverse and stunning array of species and environments anywhere in the galaxy. From the depth of our oceans to the centres of our cities, every single inch of our world is teeming with life. When given the vastness of the observable universe, which is filled with more planets than you could ever put a number to, many of which dwarf us in size, innumerable asteroids that hurtle past us daily, stars that burn so bright they spit out solar flares. Yet out of all of it, out of all the incredible phenomenon that exist in the observable universe, only one planet, as far as we know, has life. Just truly think about how insane that is. One must wonder whether that is religious beliefs or other beliefs. Where did all this come from? How is the air, the gravity, the sun, the atmospheric pressure so perfectly tuned to support all the species on Earth? I have a very special documentary I will be releasing in a few months about how everything on this planet seems to have its own place, and how if you take anything away, it all crumbles. It's going to be incredibly insightful and will make you realise, even if you already think about this, just how insane and significant this planet is. I've said it before and I'll say it again, even you watching this right now, in whatever we call and can define this state of consciousness and existence is, are the result of so many variables it's an absolute miracle you are alive. Add in the odds of Earth, out of all the vastness of the universe not only existing, but being able to support you as a human and everything you know, and mine, and probably your brain will start to hurt. So there's 5 fascinating and mysterious planets in the observable universe, nowhere near scratching the surface of all the fascinating planets out there, but still a glimpse into a world of unknown possibilities. I hope you've enjoyed, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Let's see this shit.
A military operation is the coordinated military actions in response to a progressing situation, and hundreds of these are carried out every year around the world by all types of military and government agencies, most of which are conducted at the favour of the public, and we must not forget that. However, every now and then, operations are conducted that raise lots of questions and speculation. Take MKUltra for example, the controversial mind control program conducted by the CIA, which I have talked about before, or ones like Operation Mockingbird, that I will be talking about in this video, where the United States supposedly conducted a huge media propaganda campaign during the Cold War to manipulate the public. Here are 5 of some of the most debated military operations in history. As always, sit back and enjoy. Operation Jade Helm 15.
Jade Helm.
Now, this military exercise was controversial, not because of what the exercise itself involved, but because of the secrecy and the size of it. It was announced that on the 15th of July 2015, around 1,200 US troops, mainly Green Beret, 15th of July 2015, around 1,200 US troops, mainly Green Berets and Navy SEALs, would practice in a 2-month training exercise, sprawling across 7 states in the southwest of America. Those states would include Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, and Arizona. It was to be one of the largest military training exercises ever performed in the United States, and it had conspiracy theorists suggesting that it was in preparation for martial law. The official explanation for the exercise was to improve the Special Operations Forces compatibility as part of the national security strategy. The troops were split into 2 roles as either occupying or resistance forces. Some participants wore civilian clothes and drove civilian vehicles. Most of the operation was carried out in the barren regions near small towns. These areas were chosen to create realistic military training and help troops adapt to unfamiliar terrain. The operation ended on September 15, 2015, and was witnessed only by the participants and the Texas State Guard. Journalists were banned, although a civilian group called Counter Jade Helm were allowed to monitor the exercise. But what caused alarm about Jade Helm was when maps and plans for it were released to the public. They showed the 7 states that had been given one of 4 colours. The colours were red for hostile, blue for permissive, brown for uncertain but leaning towards hostile, and light blue leaning towards permissive. This provoked fear, with many believing this was a psychological operation aimed at getting people used to seeing a military presence on the streets, so they would be unaware when an actual invasion happened. It was also theorized that it was an international operation to disarm American citizens and remove key political figures, all part of a secret plot to impose martial law and take population control. Such was the concern that some speculated that shuttered Walmart stores in the area were being used to stockpile military supplies and were bases leading to underground tunnels. Even the name drew suspicion, as HELM was maybe an acronym for Homeland Eradication of Local Militants. It may sound silly, but there was a genuine concern, especially in Texas, that the government was trying to take over and an invasion was imminent. Rumours on the internet were flying around, forcing authorities to urge civilians to use mainstream news sources only if they were interested in accurate information. However, even the governor of Texas ordered the Texas state to monitor the operation, declaring, during the training operation, it's important that Texans know their safety, constitutional rights, private property rights, and civil liberties will not be infringed. Even presidential candidate Senator Ted Cruz asked the Pentagon for reassurance about the military exercise, stating, "We are assured it's a military training exercise. I have no reason to doubt those accuracies. But I understand the reason for concern and uncertainty, because when the federal government has not demonstrated itself to be trustworthy in this administration, the natural consequence is that many citizens do not trust what it is saying." To date, there has not been an official explanation for why such a large-scale military exercise was carried out, and it's left many people wondering what is really planned for the people of America. Operation Acoustic Kitty. Now this one sounds crazy, but it actually took place. In the 1960s, a CIA project was launched that involved using cats to spy on the Kremlin and Soviet embassies. In a procedure that took over an hour, a surgeon implanted a microphone in the cat's ear canal with a small radio transmitter at the base of its skull and a tiny wire attached to its fur. The idea was that the cat would be able to wander around specific areas, recording and transmitting voices and sounds. Given the unpredictability of the cat involved in this project, further training was required to address the cat's attention span and its sense of hunger. It was alleged that the total cost of this project was around $20 million.
What?
The first mission involved releasing the cat in a park outside the Soviet compound in Washington, D.C. The aim was to listen in to two men who were under surveillance. At the time, reports say the project was a disaster, as when the cat was released, it almost immediately ran into the road and was hit and killed by a taxi. However, many years later in 2013, a former director of the CIA's Office and Technical Service, Robert Wallace, denied this happened and claimed that the cat was never released due to difficulties in training, and all of the implants were removed from the cat, which lived a long and happy life afterwards. But also said the project was abandoned after subsequent tests with other cats also failed, and it was cancelled in 1967, deemed a complete disaster and very costly mistake. Details of this bizarre project were only disclosed in 2001 when the CIA documents were declassified.
This is weird.
Operation Eagle Claw. On November 4th, 1979, the US Embassy in Iran was stormed by up to 3,000 militant students. They took 63 American hostages, and a further 3 US diplomats were seized at the Iranian Foreign Ministry. Just 2 weeks after the hostages were taken, 13 of them were freed, all of them women or African Americans. However, despite months of negotiations, 53 hostages were still being held, and by April 1980, a rescue mission was planned. On April 16, 1980, the then President Carter and the details of the fight. On November 4th, 1979, the US Embassy in Iran was stormed by up to 3,000 militant students, seized at the Iranian Foreign Ministry, and a further 3,000 militant students. They took 63 American hostages, and a further, just 2 weeks after the hostages were taken, was seized at the Iranian Foreign Ministry. Just 3 US diplomats were seized at the Iranian Foreign Ministry. A further 3 US hostages were taken, 13 of them were freed, all of them women or African Americans. However, despite months of negotiations, 53 hostages were still being held, and by April 1980, a rescue mission was planned. On April 16, 1980, the then President Carter approved an operation called Eagle Claw. The project was ambitious and needed to draw on the expertise of all 4 branches of the US Armed Services. The plan was to operate over 2 days and called for helicopters and aircraft to rendezvous on a salt flat, approximately 200 miles southeast of Tehran. On arrival, the helicopters would refuel, pick up combat troops, and take them to a mountain location in preparation for the daring rescue mission the following night. On April 24th, the helicopters landed on the salt flat, although the first part of the operation did not run smoothly when a bus carrying 40 Iranian passengers was spotted on a nearby road, forcing ground troops to intercept and detain all 40 passengers in an attempt to preserve operation security. In addition to this, 2 of the 8 helicopters developed mechanical faults and could not complete the mission. This delayed the other 6 helicopters by 90 minutes, an incredibly long delay for such a mission. After they had finally landed, another helicopter was deemed unsafe due to unknown mechanical failure. The mission could not be completed with just 5 helicopters and had to be aborted. Then more disaster struck. As the helicopters and planes left the salt plain, one of them collided with an aircraft and exploded, killing 5 Air Force personnel and 3 Marines. The rest of the group abandoned the other 4 helicopters and were quickly evacuated by plane, leaving behind all of their equipment, weapons, maps, and the dead. The mission was a complete failure. After investigations, it was concluded that the weakness of Operation Eagle Claw arose from a lack of coordination between the military services and inadequate training and equipment, costing the lives of 8 servicemen and 1 civilian. Operation Eagle Claw helped transform US military internal operating procedures. They signaled the rebirth of Special Operations Forces within the US military and marked the debut of the US Army's Delta Force, which led to the development of elite counter-terrorism forces such as SEAL Team 6, who took out Osama bin Laden, in what would be another controversial and highly debated operation. Let's talk about that.
Better be on
Operation Neptune Spear. In late 2010, US authorities were alerted to a housing compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, after placing the complex under 24-hour surveillance and making repeated sightings of a tall man with a scraggly beard. Although there was no positive identification, there was enough evidence to suggest that, after 9 years of searching, Osama bin Laden, the Al-Qaeda leader, had finally been found. After being given all the surveillance data, President Barack Obama gives the go-ahead to raid, and on May 1st, 2011, in a televised address, Obama confirms that Osama bin Laden has been killed in a US military operation codenamed Neptune Spear. The operation itself is too long to talk about in this video, but since this day, speculation has been rife, and the full details of what happened have filtered through over the years, with many stating that some questions have been left unanswered, many of which surround the thought that the White House officials made false statements about the operation. The biggest theory is that the Pakistani intelligence were keeping bin Laden captive in Abbottabad and were waiting for the US to stage a raid to hand him over. After all, bin Laden's compound was an eyesore and was less than a mile from the Pakistani military academy, who said they had no idea where he was hiding. You have to wonder how they could not have been suspicious is beyond many people who do not believe the initial story. The fact that Abbottabad locals also phoned police during the raid commotion, and the fact the local army told them everything was under control that night, makes some question if the Pakistani military knew of the raid beforehand, something the US has denied. The SEALs supposedly involved in the mission to kill Osama bin Laden also later spoke out and gave many contradicting reports of what happened during the operation. Two of them in fact gave different accounts of the same mission, meaning either they were not part of the raid in the first place, or someone is lying. The second thing is that not one photograph of bin Laden has ever been released, and there's still no solid proof he was killed apart from the various reports. Some believe this could be due to the fact that he may have already been killed years before. After all, he supposedly had some various medical conditions. The Pakistani president said that bin Laden had died sometime before 2002 due to kidney failure and had 2 dialysis machines on hand. However, in the pictures that came out of the compound, none of them showed any sign of medical equipment, so it's unsure where the Pakistani government got this information. After bin Laden was killed and the compound was searched for intelligence, his body was placed into a body bag and loaded onto a helicopter. Bone marrow and DNA samples were taken, and bin Laden was flown to Afghanistan. Back in Afghanistan, he was identified and photographs of his body were taken. After supposedly consulting his family in Saudi Arabia, it was agreed bin Laden should be buried at sea, according to the US, in keeping with Islamic tradition. All of this took place in under 24 hours. There are also questions about why he was killed in the first place and not taken alive, as he was apparently unarmed, and would have been more valuable to intelligence services if he had not been killed. If anyone can shed some light on these conspiracies, it's Michael Scheuer, who ran the CIA unit responsible for the bin Laden hunt. He said he doesn't know why they didn't release photographs, as secrecy breeds conspiracy theories. He also stated that 100% of the story that's out there is true, but not 100% of the story is out there. Simply put, the fact the supposed SEALs spoke out, and the theory surrounding bin Laden's body, it's not hard to see why many people still question the exact timeline and circumstances surrounding Operation Neptune Spear, and believe there's more to this than what is being told. If you want to learn more about Osama bin Laden, then there's a really interesting article on the Top 5 site that I'm sure you would enjoy. I've also narrated it for you to listen to, if you prefer not to read. Operation Mockingbird. At the height of the Cold War in the 1950s, the CIA needed to gather more intelligence and attempt to influence public opinion, so they came up with Project Mockingbird. In effect, it was a domesticated propaganda campaign, which involved recruiting journalists from across the US who could provide the CIA with direct access to some of the most influential media outlets in the country. The aim was to promote the views of the CIA covertly through these outlets. The project infiltrated a variety of media outlets, such as newspapers, news agencies, radio and television stations, as well as books, foreign media outlets, and student groups. The operation remained a secret and wasn't exposed for over 25 years. Contrary to popular belief, these media outlets were well aware of what was going on, and journalists and students were said to be recruited by the CIA. Among their tasks was gathering simple intelligence and serving as go-between with spies in communist countries. On some occasions, CIA agents would disguise themselves as journalists when seeking intelligence abroad. The journalists and media organizations were not just little backstreet publications either. They recruited award-winning journalists, along with America's leading news organizations. Despite many of Mockingbird's operations being carried out overseas, the primary goal was for hard-hitting stories to be reported in the American press. It's been alleged that the CIA also went as far as rewriting scripts for Hollywood productions to portray capitalism in a positive light. One famous example of this was in the movie version of George Orwell's book Animal Farm. Orwell was known to be a socialist, and in the book he attacked both capitalism and communism. However, in the film, the CIA allegedly changed the ending, eliminating any attacks on capitalism. Operation Mockingbird supposedly ended in 1976. However, there are some believe that it's still ongoing, although the last person to voice this concern was researcher Steve Kangas, who in 1996 claimed that the billionaire owner of a foreign news organization called Forum World Features was a CIA asset and was using his organization to distribute propaganda for circulation in the United States. Shortly after his statement, Kangas was found dead with a bullet in his head. His death was officially ruled as a suicide, although it was reported that there were discrepancies in both the autopsy and the police report. We've been led to believe that the United States press is detached from government interference, although in a situation where the manipulation is completely secret, the American society has been left ignorant of the propaganda they have been reading for decades, and it seems more and more people are starting to voice their concerns on this matter. So there's 5 military operations that are shrouded in mystery, and who many believe are not as black and white as they seem. My absolute respect goes out to all of those who serve their country and who lost their lives as a result of some of these military exercises. Before I go, I just want to share something insanely exciting with you that I'm finally able to do so. So we all know why most subscribe to my channel. Yes, I cover some fascinating topics like this one, but the creepy, haunting and eerie videos are most people's favourites. And as you can tell by now, I also love those type of topics and often read about them in my spare time. But it's strange, YouTube statistics, and this is by no means just for my channel, but across the whole platform, are pretty clear that most people prefer a video that's under 10 minutes. This is why, when a team of amazing writers approached me about making a Top 5s magazine, focusing solely on the creepy aspects of life, and going more in-depth than I can in a video, I jumped at it. And these guys are pretty damn awesome, with a passion in this sort of thing. And to be honest, there isn't much out there like this, a digital magazine on paranormal encounters, creepy stories and eerie mysteries that you can sit back to and enjoy reading wherever you are. If you like the sound of this, then there's a link in the description to a Thunderclap campaign, which is basically a crowd-speaking platform that helps spread the word so those interested in this can also be made aware. This also helps me and the team out big time. So that's it. I've wanted to share this with you for so long, and there is still a lot more to share in the coming weeks, but that's all for now. Thanks for watching, thank you for making this possible, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.
Hello? Yo, what's up, dude? Yeah, I'm home right now. Sing the what's the Tapeform song? Right now? Oh, is the test tomorrow? Okay, good. Alright, let me get up my textbook. Give me a moment. What page is it on?
156.
Okay. Alright, I got it.
You want to do the whole thing? Do you like practice it?
So, wait, do we have to know? Do we have to know about the number 1 and number 2?
No, we just have to do number 2.
Okay.
You want to just do number 2?
Yeah.
Alright, so I guess we'll just repeat that part twice and then do the
Alright.
Alright.
Alright. Yeah.
Alright.
Kinda got it. I don't remember all of it.
You remember the whole thing?
I don't remember all of number 2. I'm trying to remember it. I'm reading it. I'm trying to memorize it.
What up?
I'm reading it. I'm trying to memorize it.
I think it's just like the first part, like we'll get the first part through like repetition, and then like it's then and then smooth boom do.
Oh yeah, move.
So it's like
Dead.
and then boom boom do.
Dead.
Let's practice that part real quick. So it's like
Utsuru, utsuru, ute. Utsuru, ute, mubunu, kuite, kuide. Utsuru, ute, mubunu, kuite. Oh wait.
It's weird. It's like she runs the and ku and te
Yeah.
together.
Then why put a space there?
What's that?
Then why put a space there? It's making it confusing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to like contract like all of this like these three.
Oh, I guess.
Okay. Into like one.
I
Like,
guess
right
so.
after we say do, we'll go.
Okay. Alright. Utsuru, Mubununde. Oh, it's like one word. Mubununde kuite. Utsuru, ute, mubunde kuite, kuite. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, they jabble it. Couple so hard. Okay, so the gooey dad is like the last line of that. And you have like the note, like gooey dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, I think I got it.
Let's try it one more time.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, read this.
Utsuru, ute, mubununde kuite, kuite.
Gooey dad.
Utsuru, ute, mubununde kuite, kuite. Utsuru, ute, mubununde kuite, kuite. Utsuru, ute, formu.
Yeah, why is there like, we need to get the, like the harmony, like everything right.
I have the files on my computer.
Which one did you play? It's on KO609.
Oh, yeah, I'll turn it on my computer.
Word.
Just give me a moment. Where was it? I forget where I put the files.
You want me to just grab mine out?
Sure, you can. I'm gonna try and find
I'm
mine.
about to go. My boy's here.
Oh,
You
okay.
wanna do this tomorrow more?
Before class?
Or like after class?
Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to be there tomorrow.
Alright.
Actually.
Let's do the number 1 real quick.
Do we need to know that?
Nah, but we practiced it. We'll be able to sing it in class.
Alright.
Alright, you got your book out?
Yep.
Alright, I'm just gonna try to like go mad slow with it.
Okay.
Here it is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one moment. Here, one moment, man. One moment. I can't turn down the air. I'm on the phone with somebody. Just hold over down one. Sorry, that was my sister.
You ready?
Yeah.
Alright, let's do it once and then I gotta go.
Okay.
Like the whole song, like the second part.
Okay.
Alright.
Awate matsumate torutote Yomu yonde asofu asonde Shindu shinde Kaku kaite ke Teshide yosu soite Minna uverte formu.
I feel like we got that part like good. Let's do the second part twice and then we out.
Okay. Utsu ute monunde kuite guide. Utsu ute unde ute guide. Utsu ute mubununde. Guide. Sushi we got it.
Alright, we got it. But then I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Alright. See you, man.
Peace.